What's up guys, it's Max, and today I'm bringing you finally an update to my Chimera Azamina deck profile for 2024-2025 post the ban list of 2024-25. The way they revealed the ban list was crazy, so let's just get that out there. It does suck that Ubel got hit, so I will update that profile in time. But tonight decided to take this deck to locals and did really well with it because Chimera's been pretty much all I've been playing. It's one of my best decks and definitely a tier 1 contender. My matches were up against Malice, Lab, and a hybrid WTF kind of deck. Like, when I kid you not, that nigga had 5 different archetypes in one deck, and somehow it worked and got him undefeated. Which, you know, kudos to him. But during game 3, he did have the one hand trap, the droll that stopped me. But it was my own misplay that fell into that. I could have sequenced it better. But overall, the deck performed very well. Game 2, I played through my opponent activating D-Barrier 2 to 3 times because Labyrinth can just do so much stupid stuff like recurring trap cards for free. And game 1, up against the Malice, unfortunately for us, he didn't open up the D-Barrier, the D-Shifter on game 2, otherwise that definitely just hoses this deck. And we were able to take it, so yeah, this deck is definitely strong. Do not sleep on it. Give it a chance if you can. If you have friends that let you borrow the Azamina cards. But getting into this is going to be a main extra inside. And by the time you guys see this, you know, Wednesday. So let's get right into this. For the main deck, we do start off with the obvious, the 2 Diabell Star the Black Witch. The second ulti is coming. Don't worry, we will pull it sometime. Hopefully, maybe. Everybody knows what she does, but if you don't, you've been living under a rock somehow. You pitch a card. You send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard to summon her, and on summon, she will set a Sinful Spoil spell, a trap card, straight from your deck, so it plays around Ash and Droll. And when she leaves when she's sent from the owner's side of the field to the graveyard, I believe on the opponent's turn it is, you can discard you can send a card from your hand to the graveyard to summon her right back. So, fun fact, if you do snatch this away from the opponent and you link off with it or crash, whatever, the opponent doesn't get the effect because it wasn't in their possession when it hit the graveyard. So, fun interaction there. Next we got Sister in Diabell's, the original Sin Keeper. She is so free in this deck. Man, summoning her has never been much more easier. I think looking at it now, I probably could have summoned her much easier back when I was fighting Snake Eyes and whatever else, but that's irrelevant. If there's a Sinful Spoil card in either graveyard, you can just summon her to the field, and while she's on the field, the opponent must set spell and traps before they can attempt to activate them. And when a spell or trap card is set to the field, for either player, you can target a card on each side of the field and destroy them. Sadly, even as an illusion, she doesn't have the battle immunity restriction, so she has to be free, I guess, to make her reliable or whatever. Next, I did opt to play this because I don't have Parelia or Fualos. I main deck now the 3 Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. First time ever using this card, and boy, in this meta right now with Malice, and eventually when we get the new Adignista stuff, I will be making an update about that, hopefully. This card is one that may start seeing a lot more play for those of us who don't have the Fualos cards because it's ridiculous how expensive you need to get. So, I know it's been a while, so I will read this card's effect out to you guys. You get it? When your opponent summons a Link monster, except in a damage step, so even if they revive it from the graveyard or what have you, You can summon this card from your hand and draw cards equal to the number of link monsters they control plus 1. So if they have 2, you get 3, 4, you get 5. You know, it's crazy. And then you put cards back up to the number of link monsters that they control. So thankfully, at most cases, this will be a +1, but it's really good. Its other effect is that if your opponent targets any card on your field, you can discard a card to negate that activation and destroy it. So this did help me play around my third match against that what the fuck deck, honestly. When he had Flambirds, he targeted this, I said discard, negate, and destroy. So Phantasmate, definitely a very good card. I suggest you guys pick up a playset now because link decks are still strong, and you know what, why wouldn't you want a free body and a good draw eventual +2 or 3. Next we play the 3 of Nightmare Apprentice, the best illusion monster ever created. You can discard a card to summon her as a summon condition. It doesn't activate. Once she's normal or special summon, you can add 1 illusion monster from your deck to your hand, and she does have the illusionary condition that she cannot die by battle, and she is in a nice level 6, so do keep that in mind. Next we have the 2 Big Wing Baphomet. This will never change until we get new fusion monsters that require good fiends, or if we get more better illusion monsters. So that will probably be a thing, maybe. Baphomet on summon, it adds you up to 2 cards, being a beast in the Chimera Fusion. However, when you use that effect, you are locked into fusion summoning for the rest of the turn. And when it's used as fusion material and sent to the graveyard, you can revive one of your illusion monsters back. Next, I am choosing to remain 3 Mirror Sword Knight, mainly because I want bodies to be able to pitch off with the Bellstar or use for my Deception, or even pitch with Nightmare Apprentice. The whole point, you need bodies to do stuff with, to pitch with, and obviously to fusion summon with. So Mirror Sword Knight is back at 3. Plus this is one of our other best illusion monsters. You can tribute him at quick effect speed to dodge hand traps like Veil or Imperm, but if you're doing that against this card, you're kind of bad. To be able to summon a monster from your deck that mentions Chimera Fusion, so it would be Baphomet or Gazelle. And while it's on the field or graveyard, if your opponent activates a monster effect while you control the flying mythical beast, you can banish it to negate that effect. The next is 3 Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws. Probably the better normal summon in this deck, honestly. If you want to normal summon anything, you will want it to be this. And yeah, finally got my 3rd prismatic secret rare, thank god. On normal or special, you can add a level 5 fiend or Chimera Fusion from your deck to your hand, and when it's sent to the graveyard as fusion material from anywhere, you can add 1 illusion monster from your deck to your hand, so it helps get you to your Nightmare Apprentice, your Diabelles, or any of your other illusion monsters. One of those being Cornfield Kotal. Kotal is your other searcher for the deck, being that you can discard it to add any 1 monster that mentions Chimera Fusion in its card text, and while it's in the graveyard or on the field, just like Mirror Sword Knight, if your opponent activates a card that targets a card you control while you control Flying Mythical Beasts, you can banish this card, negate that effect, and then destroy that card. So this, if you guys weren't aware, it can search off these 3, this, and these. All 3 of those do mention Chimera Fusion in its text, so you know, keep that in mind in case you didn't know or if you weren't sure. For the last of the Chimera stuff, we do have the 1 Master Tau. When it's sent to the graveyard, by any means, you can summon an illusion monster back from your graveyard, which does work with our fusions because most of them are illusion monsters. But if you do that, you are locked to summoning illusions from the graveyard for the rest of the turn. For the final card, we do mainstay the 3 of Ash Blossom. There's nothing more to be said about this card, just a universal hand trap that's in 99% of decks. That's it for the monsters. Let's move into the spells. For the spells, we are playing the 3 Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils. Thank goodness this card is much more obtainable now thanks to Quarter Century Bonanza. You can activate this card to search out your Diabell Star, and while it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to shuffle back to put a Sinful Spoil spell or trap card back to the bottom of your deck to draw a free card. Next, I do choose to main deck. Thanks to the certain meta, I choose to main deck the 3 Forbidden Droplets, just because I will often have extra cards just to get rid of from my hand, and this was just a 3 slot that I had no idea what to put, so I figured, you know, why not drop it? Some of my cards do have good effects when they hit the graveyard, so there's that. Next up is the 3 Chimera Fusion, the last 3 I've card in the deck. The 2 other ultras will be coming, don't worry. Just your best fusion, second best fusion card. Well, I guess it would be the first, number 1 fusion card in this deck. Just fusion summon during the main phase only on foot. But it does have the secondary effect from the graveyard. While you have the flying mythical beast on your field, you can add this back to your hand. However, that is only once per turn. Next, we do have the 2 copies of Deception of the Sinful Spoils. This card, you can choose to run it at 3 if you like Diabell Star, if you really want to see it. But since we do have essentially 5 copies of Diabell Star, and she can set this card, and you can always recycle it with Wanted, there's no real need to play 3. Especially because this deck, unlike something like White Forest, we don't have things that constantly recur itself, so this is just fine. It's a 2 of. You can tribute a card, a monster, from your hand or field as cost to add a Azamina spell card, Azamina spell trap from your deck. And while it's in the graveyard, at the end of the turn it was sent there while it was face up, it can set itself back to your side of the field. So it's also a nice little card that recurs itself. So that's another reason you wouldn't really want to maximize on seeing that. Next up is the one of, we have the obligatory 1 call by because hand traps really suck. We have the 1 Hollow Azamina as our go-to search card for Deception. Being able to put back one of your Azaminas that's either on your field or in your graveyard once per turn to get this back to your hand, just like White Forest stuff, is pretty good. And we do play the 1 Azamina Debtors to be able to fusion summon on our opponent's turn and interrupt their plays, or, you know, get a little bit more mileage or a free body basically. It also has the secondary effect where you can banish this card and your main phase, you can banish this card from your grave, then target an Azamina monster in your graveyard and summon it. So if anything, this will help get you back your Murisalago or the Illa Silva for a free Omni Negate. And finally, for the spell and traps, we do have the 3 Infinite Impermanence. Basic, you know, tell your opponent no, or if you set it, just turn off a whole column. That's it for the main deck. That is a total of 41 cards, actually. Now let's get moving into the extra deck. Extra deck is pretty basic in my personal but correct opinion. We have the 1 Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, to be able to hand rip your opponent at the end phase, and while it's in the graveyard during the opponent's turn, you can banish it to summon back one of your tri-types of beast, fiend, or illusions from the graveyard back to the field. And while it's on the field, it's counted as Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast. The same goes for Berthamet, the Mythical King of Phantom Beasts. While when he's fusion summoned, you can Foolish Burial any one of the tri-types to the graveyard. And the same, while it's in the graveyard, it can banish itself to summon back one of your other banished tri-types back to the field. So you want, at most, you want both of these to be in rotation to use this effect, use this to go into that, get it off the field to summon whatever else you're going to. Then on your opponent's turn, you use this effect, and then you use this, so that your graveyard effects of Mirror Sword and Kodo can be online. Next, we do have our OTK machine and Chimera, the Illusion Beast. This is too good of a card to take out. It's pretty much your boss monster for like mid-game or so, being able to just attack into your opponent up to 2 to 3 times. When it attacks into an opponent's monster as an illusion, it can't neither destroy it in battle. However, its effect is that when it after it attacks a monster, that monster's attack points are turned to 0 permanently and its effects are negated. So, being able to wail on something 3 times if you're able to go 3 times with this, that's at most times game. Next up is the Honorary Chimera monster in Guardian Chimera to draw and pop cards. Next up, we have Azamina Ilia Sylvia, just for our Omni Negate. We have Mu Ruslago to be able to search and lower the opponent's monsters by 500 attack and defense for each Azamina you control. And we do play the Azamina Soul Erishathan. We actually play this because we can go into it a little easier because it requires just an illusion and a fiend monster. So we can just summon it during the opponent's turn and then use this effect to send the card to the graveyard. It does target though, unfortunate. For the last ups, we do have the 1 Draco Stapelia for effect negation and the 1 Magnum the Reliever, just one of the best fusion monsters to make to recycle your fusion cards. We have the 1 Chaos Angel because we do have level 6s and level 4s. So being able to make this against certain decks that do not have spell and trap out cards, just summoning this against some of those kind of decks, they can't out it. So yeah, we do have the Superstar Slayer Typhon to turn off things that are very scary, like a Desiree that's beefed up for no reason. We play the IP Masquerena, the SP Little Knight. I choose to main deck the Nightmare Unicorn over the Cross Sheep just because there aren't many times when I want to summon back a level 4 monster or lower. Not that the deck can't do that already, but using this to spin something back to the deck is very, very good. And I do choose to run the Mech Knight Crusader Avermax for a nice little trick that we'll get to when we go into the side deck. That is it for the extra deck. Let's move it on to the side. Now for the side deck, there can be a few changes in the spell or trap cards, but for the monsters, I believe this is the perfect ratio for you to be playing in a Chimera deck. And you'll see it when you see them. First off and foremost, you cannot play this deck without siding the Barrier Statue of the Abyss. Summoning this against things like Ryzeal, Snake Eye, if there are still some dedicated players. Anything that's not Malice or whatever have you, most decks just still auto-lose to this. There will be, even though they got neutered, do not count out not seeing those cards. There will be still some dedicated Tenpai players. Excuse me. There will still be some dedicated Snake Eye players. They'll still be using Fire Kings because, that is the best way to play. And this is the Fiendsmith Killer because it's all light fiends. So just summon this against those decks, they just auto lose. So we have the Tiger King Wang Hu. This card is still very, very good against some decks, especially the Malice, because they only have 1 main deck monster that can get over this card's destroying effect, and it only has 1500 while this thing is 17. So as you guys might know, this card, whenever you summon something that's 1400 or less, either player, that monster is immediately destroyed. It does activate. So there's that little tech that you guys may want to keep note of. I do still like my tech of the End of Anubis to shut off people from using their graveyard as a second hand. And this card, my gosh, all us Chimera players, you gotta be playing this card. And it'll probably be in the thumbnail, but that is Chaos Hunter. I choose to run it at 2 because I do want to see it if I happen to go second. And I did see it going second against the Malice player. I summoned this when he special summoned Kashtira Unicorn. Instantly, his entire hand was turned off. He had full combo, and if it wasn't for Chaos Hunter, she saved my ass. It's like, Lancia is good and all, but a walking Lancia is even better with a sizable attack stat. And for those who may not know, Chaos Hunter just states that while this is face up, the opponent cannot banish cards. And if they special summon, discard a card to summon this card. So even though you activate her, Kashtira's cannot use their effect to banish stuff from your graveyard or extra deck, or banish something from your field. It's just a very good monster, and because it's a fiend, we can just fuse with it or send it to the graveyard and then summon it with Chimera. Next up for the spells, I choose to play the 1 Harpy Feather Duster. Side in the 3 Cosmic Cyclone. I like to use this more if I can go in first. The 3 Xyz Encore for the Raizio decks that I will eventually play. Sadly, if I didn't lose, well, if one of the players at the local, if he didn't make a misplay, I probably would have fought him, and this would have just canned him. And instead of D-Barrier, I choose to play this because it's kind of the same thing, but it hits every mechanic. I choose to play the 3 Simo Archfiends. For those of you who are confused on how this works, basically, both players cannot summon more than once from the extra deck of a certain type, be it Fusion, Xyz, Synchro, or Lynx, or Pendulums. So use this once. A Raizio deck will have to make 1 card from the extra deck, and that's it. And a Malice player will have to make do with 1 Link monster. This card is probably much better in D-Burial in my opinion. And the little tech with the best thing about Barrier Statue I want to point out is that if you happen to make Avamax, the opponent cannot target this card for attacks. They have to go for Avamax, and Avamax already gets stronger for the first time when it battles a monster that I didn't point out. But yeah, that's why I play it. But that's going to be it for my Chimera Azamina deck profile. I know this was a little bit long, not about a few minutes, but I really wanted to explain the cards and choices of using them, because this is probably one of my best decks to be playing in the current going on format until we get Supreme Darkness, and then when we finally get the Blue Eye Structure deck, I will be playing that. So be keeping on the lookout there. Also, I wanted to point out that, I know it takes a while for these videos to come out, but, I am one person. I don't have a whole team of people. I don't have sponsors or whatever. So if you guys really want to see more profiles and deck videos coming out and stuff like that, I do have a Patreon in the description, although I don't use it, so I may just get rid of it. Who knows? But I do have a Cash App. You guys can help me out by donating. Any little bit you guys do give will go to making the channel better, getting cards better, faster, and buying more efficient stream equipment. For the time being, I'm not going to be uploading any dual videos because they don't really get a lot of traction. I mean, if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments below, so I'll see what I can do, how I feel about it. But yeah, if you guys want to support your boy, and if you are fans, do try helping me out a little bit. Little help goes a long way, and I can keep making videos in a timely fashion for you guys. So check that out in the description. If you do want to donate, Cash App will likely be better. Or if want to send some cards to me, maybe let me know how that wants to go, and I'll leave that in the description or DM you or whatever have you. But rambling on. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.